But I want to say welcome to our first accounting services lunch and learn of 2024. We are so excited to have you all here. My name's Madison. I am the director of talent. And so my team recently started running all things contractor and kind of reimagining what this time with you all could be. And we are really excited to settle on some lunch and learn topics throughout 2024 that we think are going to be really impactful for you guys and hopefully make an impact in the day-to-day of you serving here at Belay. Thank you all for the time and the dedication that you show to your clients. We truly would not be here without you. And so it's our honor to have a little moment to hopefully give back to you in a way and get to have some community and hang out together. Additionally, today we have our resident expert, Shane, who is our payroll services manager here to talk to you guys about all things ADP. So I'm going to turn it over to Shane right now to get this party started. Shane, thank you for being willing to come and connect with our contractors. I'm sure a lot of them have talked with you regularly, but it's exciting to have you in this way, coming to share your insights with us. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Madison, for allowing me to. This is a good time of the year to talk about payroll, and I always love to talk about payroll, especially church payroll. And we deal with a lot of churches here at Belay. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll talk through not only ADP, but also some of, I don't think I shared right, so give me a minute.
Yeah, we're seeing your Slack.
So we will talk through, I'm better at not talking and sharing. So we're going to talk through both ADP and some general payroll stuff. So now I'll pause and share correctly, hopefully.
Happens to the best of us, truly.
I had this problem earlier too. Okay. And I also forgot to click the slideshow.
There you go. We're seeing it now.
Okay. So, technical difficulty still, guys.
Perfect. Oh no. Listen, this is virtual work, right? We
Gremlins.
were all in a room together. You would have been able to just pull out a trifold. And I don't even know what they use in the fridge.
How is it?
There
Is
we
it
go.
good?
Perfect.
Yay! Okay. All right. So here we go. Payroll and ADP and Shane, who can't share a slide deck. Okay. So we have worked together a long time, but some of you might be new to us. So I'm just going to start from the beginning. I am Shane, who can't share a slide deck. I have been at Belay for almost 9 years in the end of May. I started at Belay processing payroll, which is crazy now. I started part-time, learned all the minister taxes at a previous position. For some reason, I have a crazy fascination with payroll. I love it. It doesn't make me nervous. I like talking about it. I like helping all of you. I like helping our CSCs. Some of them are on this call too. And I love helping our clients. So sometimes if there's an issue with a client or a question, I jump on calls with them. So please keep that in the back of your mind. And we now have a wonderful team of payroll people, which we have not always had. As we grow, we have added to this team. Kimberly is fairly new to us. Some of you have recently worked with her. She's our payroll implementation specialist. She has a background in bookkeeping, so she is super knowledgeable. She's a great resource for all of you, and she gets our clients set up and going in a really wonderful way. And you all probably have worked with Marta before. She is not new to Belay. She was on our experience team previously. She helped me create this wonderful slide deck. She has many, many talents, and we are so thankful that she's in our team. She is in the payroll inbox a lot. So if you're asking questions in the payroll inbox, odds are good you have communicated with her. So does everyone remember Rachel from Friends? This was one of my favorite shows, but it's making a resurgence because my soon-to-be daughter-in-law in about a year, they're not quite engaged yet, but she watches this. So I'm like, yes, Friends is still around. It's making a comeback. But this was the funniest for me. And it was Rachel when she got her first paycheck and she's like, who is taking all my money? And it's FICA. FICA is like the thing that holds us up the most, I would say, with our minister payroll setup. So I know a lot of you have heard about this before, but I thought it's always good to have a refresher. And maybe some of our new people haven't, or maybe people that are working more in our for-profit. So FICA taxes, obviously it's Social Security and Medicare. Well, it's obvious to us in accounting services anyway, right? And with the ministers, they are FICA exempt. So this is listed very specifically in publication 517, which is a really good publication, IRS document to watch. I have spent way too much time reading the document. It's embarrassing. Again, my nerdiness is showing because I'm kind of fascinated with what it says. The biggest thing that it says is ministers are FICA exempt. It doesn't say really if then. Some of them, it says ministers are FICA exempt. There's a lot of controversy around that often when ministers come to us. And we have had the opportunity to meet with many CPAs over the years. And when I've shared that document, they have always agreed. So even though I am not a CPA, and I don't play one on TV, but that is what everyone that I have talked to over the years has come to the synopsis or the agreement of that, yes, ministers are FICA exempt. So I have it on good authority that that is correct. Having said that, when they are exempt from that, it's a good indicator that they're going to have a housing allowance. And we hope that they have a housing allowance. This is a benefit reserved for ministers. It allows them to write off their deductions in a designated amount that is non-taxable for income tax purposes. We have a great worksheet and it's linked here. We'll send the slide deck out later. When we pull up that worksheet and you see it, it lists out all of the things that they can deduct. And I'm sorry, not deduct, but add into their designation for their housing allowance. It covers things like their rent and or their mortgage. It has utilities, even some decor things that they use in their house. And when they designate that, then they can, that's non-taxable. So that's a huge income tax benefit for them. And it really does help them out at the end of the year with their taxes. Sometimes we do have ministers that designate their full salary, and that can be okay if they have a spouse that works. The spouse is maybe paying the income tax. In those cases, my recommendation is that you put at least like a penny or a dollar in taxable income so that they generate a W-2 at the end of the year, because the W-2 reports only taxable income. So if there's nothing in that column that would go in box 1, then they will not get a W-2. So that's just a nice little tip along the way. When you see somebody that has a housing allowance, it's a good double check to kind of go back and make sure that they're not having FICA taxes withheld. And again, that's Social Security and Medicare. And it's also a good thing to be aware that ministers since they're FICA exempt, they instead pay self-employment taxes outside of payroll. So those are called SECA taxes. They pay both sides of what we would consider FICA. So it's 7.65% on each side. So they pay 15.3% on their total income in SECA taxes. Our ministers can do this in a couple ways. More often, it is that they pay quarterly estimated SECA tax payments. But there's another way that a lot of our ministers handle that, and that is to over withhold their federal income tax. It's kind of a way to save for those SECA tax payments. And to do that, they can meet with their CPA is always the best thing to do. But what really is a general concept they're doing is they would want to add in that 15.3% of their total income plus whatever they would owe in their federal income tax. We can set that up in ADP by doing a flat deduction for them in their income tax column. And that is a really easy way for them to do it because it's based on each pay period and it's coming right out of their pay. A lot of them struggle with saving the amount to pay in their quarterly estimated taxes. So this is just one thing that I always suggest as a possibility for them. If you ever need help adding that to ADP, just let us know and we can show you how to do that. The reason that they pay this SECA allowance is the IRS views them with the dual income status. So they're both self-employed, which is what we consider a 1099 worker, and a W-2 worker. And that's the only class that is designated in that way. Sometimes I hear from ministers that they don't want to pay any Social Security and Medicare. And for ministers that want to do that, there is a form 4029. It's an IRS form. So if they want to be completely exempt from all Social Security and Medicare, they can fill out that form. They then submit it to the IRS. And if the IRS approves it, they'll receive a letter in the mail telling them that that's been approved. This does not change how we set them up in ADP. They're set up exactly the same way, still FICA exempt. It just means that they don't have to pay that SECA allowance. Sometimes you'll hear a minister say, when we want to set them up as FICA exempt, they'll say, I'm not exempt, I didn't file for that. They get confused between those two designations. So completely opting out of Social Security and Medicare is what they'll say. They didn't do that. That's different from just being FICA exempt. So all pastors are FICA exempt, but if they want to be completely exempt from Social Security and Medicare or opt out of Social Security and Medicare, they must complete that form 4029 with the IRS. And that's another time that I tend to jump in on client calls because they're confused about that. So I will sometimes meet with a pastor and sort of go over all of that and describe the difference between opting out and FICA exemption, and then talk over the options of paying those quarterly SECA payments or over withholding their federal income tax. So another difference that we have, and this is both with churches and with ministers, is they are exempt from FUTA, SUTA, and SUI. We love our acronyms in accounting services and in all the finance world. So this is the federal unemployment taxes and the state unemployment taxes. That can be set up in ADP, either under the minister, or it can be set up as the whole client level. So my preference is to set it up in the beginning for the client level, because then we don't have to individually remember every time to exempt somebody from FUTA, SUTA, and or SUI. If we catch this in implementation, we always set it up that way. There are rare occasions where I will see a church, I can think of one, where the employees are not exempt from the state unemployment insurance, but the ministers are. So in that case, we are marking that in ADP on each minister. But if that is your client, we will let you know that. Typically, they are set up on the client level, just so you're aware. They're not always exempt, so the states tend to be different, but typically they are. So now, again, this is just a reminder for some of you. Again, if you're new, it's just good information to have as you start with your clients. Just some payroll best practices, things we have learned over the years, I will say. We always like to say to be careful with your sources. We want to really go to the IRS. And then there's this other great resources, ECFA, again with the acronyms, right? That stands for the Evangelical Council of Financial Accountability. So it is a really good resource. I actually have a membership to it. So if you ever need help finding a resource, I am happy to look and provide that to you so that you can share it with your client. The IRS, obviously, we all can get to their website, but we want to be careful because sometimes there will be all sorts of websites out there on a topic, and we want to make sure that it's accurate and a reputable source. So I would definitely stick with those whenever you can. We want to always recommend that they consult with a CPA. It's always best. They are liable if anything goes wrong, or they're highly educated in that. I am not a CPA. I will always help you with resources. It's more than likely going to come from the IRS or the ECFA, but we always want to recommend that they consult with them. And as a reminder, even though some of you may be CPAs, we are not acting as CPAs in the payroll processing mode. We're just acting as their payroll processor. And fun fact, even the payroll software companies, ADP, even when we worked with Thread, they are not acting as a CPA either. So none of us should really be giving advice. We can tell them what we see with other clients. We can send them resources from the IRS and ECFA, that kind of thing, but we really can't give them advice and tell them exactly what they should do. With your payroll engagements, that should involve entering time, making updates to pay, maybe even updating a W-4 for an employee, and then also entering new employees. We do have new employee forms on the contractor portal that you can use. And in ADP, a really great resource that they have is you can just enter really basic information, and I'm talking name, email address, and then you can just click send that to the employee so that they finish their setup. And it's a really quick process for you. And then the employee is responsible for entering the rest of the information accurately and correctly. So that's kind of nice. It takes a little bit of the pressure off you. So the best practice for actually processing on process day is reach out maybe 4 days prior to the pay date, ask the client if there's any changes that they have, and then request hours if they're hourly. And then once you get all of that, enter it all in, generate a payroll register preview, send that to the client for approval, and then process. Once you process, send out an email saying, I've processed your payroll. It's just kind of that higher level of service that we like to do at Belay, just kind of over communicate. Having said that, some of our clients don't want to approve a payroll register. So I have had this question in the past. If that happens, we don't want to force them to do it. I recognize that some of them are all salary. They don't have a lot of changes, so they don't always want to approve. In that case, I would recommend that you get that in writing, that they don't want to approve it every pay period. And then just save that in your records just so you can, kind of reference, we had made this, and always loop in your CSC and all that too, but just reference, we made this arrangement, so we're not going to approve every pay period. But if you have any changes, then you need to let me know that you have that. And then another thing that we've come across lately is sometimes payroll is taking you longer than anticipated. So we have priced out your pay based on what has happened, even with me in the past, how long things took for me to process and how long it should be taking you. If it's taking you longer, I really urge you to talk to your CSC and let them know that. We can't fix something if we don't know about it, so please let them know. They can meet with your client and kind of reset those expectations. And then if we just can't, maybe they have some kind of difference in their payroll and we just really can't change how long it's going to take you, then we can maybe work on adding some additional fee that we'll go over with the client so that you can get paid more. We definitely don't want it taking you way too long. So now to the ADP portion of this. ADP is the largest payroll provider in the nation. They are the largest payroll provider for a reason. They've been doing this a long time, and they know a thing or two about payroll. So we do need to defer to them with all of their expertise. And on that vein, they are also the nation's leading tax expert. And some of you have heard me say this before because I was fascinated by it, but they actually write master tax. And that is this big manual. I have one on my desk actually. And they have software that they use as well. It has all of the tax tables loaded from all of the tax agencies. And it is what many of the payroll companies use to file their taxes, including Thread, by the way. So they really know what they're doing. They really are experts in the tax arena. And so we really have a good partner in them and can really leverage their knowledge. They really are dedicated to continuing to improve all of that and having updated tax tables in their software. And it really is a beautiful thing for nerdy people like me. The Belay platform that we have is only our clients. So no other ADP clients are on there. It's called Run. Sometimes you will hear people talk about Workforce Now, and that is a different ADP product. What we use is called Run, so the ADP Run system. There are actually some good YouTube videos out there for Run. If you ever want to look at those for help too, you can always do that. The other thing that we have access to is ADP's TLM system. That is their time leave management system. It has a time clock where they can clock in and out on the web. And it also has PTO tracking, which includes sick, PTO vacation, all of that. And it monitors the balances and it sends approvals through email, similarly to how Thread did for us, which for the new people was our prior payroll provider. There are two different apps that we have for those. So our Belay Payroll has an app that is for Run, and then there's an app for the time leave management that they use if they're clocking in and out or requesting time off, and then managers approving the time off. ADP has some new things that they can offer that you might not know about. They can actually now do third-party payments and garnishments, and there's no extra cost to the client for that. So this is such an added benefit that they can do, and we've not been able to offer that in the past. You can set these up all on your own. You don't even need to reach out to us to do that. If it is a group plan, like a group insurance plan, you can set that up on the company level. And if it's like an HSA, those kinds of things, if it applies basically to the whole company, you would set that up just on the regular deduction screen. That can be found by going to settings and then earnings and deductions. So you can set that up there and then set the payment information up right in that screen. If it is something that is employee specific, then you set that up on the individual employee deduction. And then you would just tailor that deduction for that employee with their particular plan information, and the payment would go right to that person. This one I am really excited about because this has been a challenge for our clients so often. ADP can now file for state and local tax IDs on behalf of our client. If that is something your client needs, all you need to do is to go to the tax screen, and then it's a tab under there. You can click to apply for it, or you can monitor one that you've already applied for. There is a fee for this. It's $100, and that will need to get billed to the client. So if you have a client that needs that and you click that button, I just beg that you please email us at payroll@belaysolutions.com, just letting us know which client you did that for, and we will bill the client, because ADP will bill us and we just need to pass through that charge. We don't mark that up or anything. But this is something our clients have definitely struggled with. It's something difficult for them to file for these numbers. So I was so excited to see that. This I know you knew about. We can still do an additional slash special slash off-cycle payroll, whatever you want to call it, if we need to do a payroll to pay bonuses, or if there's an error and we need to do an additional payroll. If this is something that the client asks you to do, we typically will bill them, and the charge for that is $30. $15 of that goes to you for your time. So again, that's one of those things that if you could please email us at payroll@belaysolutions.com, we will bill the client. And you also can submit your invoice. So when you submit your invoice, I get that, and then I will approve your invoice and bill the client that way too. So that is a really easy thing that we get to do through our great new product, Wingspan. That makes our lives all easier. We all know mistakes happen. So if something happens and it's your mistake and you need to do a special or an off-cycle payroll to correct something, Belay will absorb that cost. So at those times, just email us and let us know, just so we know not to bill the client. We happen to see that that got processed, then we'll know not to bill, because mistakes happen to all of us. So another thing that we can do as a result of ADP only is we can now do same-day payrolls in an emergency setting. So I know I have seen this happen. Something happens, you thought you processed and it didn't go through. If that's the case, we can sometimes process and get everybody paid the same day. It's such a great thing. We have not always been able to offer this, so I am so excited about this one too. When that happens, the best thing to do is to call ADP. I know sometimes it's the dreaded phone call. We tend to be in finance world a little bit shyer, so maybe we don't want to pick up the phone. I get it, but to get it done quickly, we really need to call that in. There will be fees involved, and I am not sure what they are, but they will let you know. My recommendation for that is if you call them and get it done by 11 a.m., it typically gets paid by like 5 o'clock that night. I have seen them try to do it up to 2 p.m., and these are all Eastern times. It has not always made it in the same day, but by 11 a.m., I have had really good success with that getting deposited same day, which is fantastic. So more good ADP news. We have payroll add-ons that we can do. And again, I could not offer this in the past. So these are things I'm really excited about too. We can now offer workers' comp straight through ADP. If any of you have gone through a workers' comp audit with your client, you will love what I am about to say next. They do not have to do the workers' comp audit if they're going through workers' comp straight through ADP. It is phenomenal. They really love not having to do that. Our clients get so stressed out when they have an audit. Just the word, I think, audit is almost as nerve-wracking as IRS. So this has been a great benefit to our clients that are using it. It is the premiums are pulled out, or the per employee fees are pulled out through payroll and paid directly to the workers' comp insurance company. And then, of course, we can't do that in a couple of the states. I knew about Washington, and we recently heard of a couple others too. But most states we can do this through. And then the only thing is that there is a little bit of a premium for that. So we need to add that on to their bill. It's, I believe, $25 a month. So we have a great ADP rep that we work with. His name is Kyle. He talks directly with our clients about that. And then if they sign on, we'll add that to their bill. So you'll see that come through on their invoice. But it really has worked out well, and our clients have really loved it. It's a great thing we can offer. For our for-profit clients, we can offer 401k. Most of our churches are on 403bs. Some of our churches now, every once in a while, will have a 401k. So far, they're not offering 403bs. I've kind of put the bug in their ear that I would love if they could offer that as well. But they definitely have 401ks. If that's something you think your client is interested in, we can connect them directly with an ADP rep as well, who will give them a quote on that and let them know what they can offer. So that's been a great service too. Additionally, they have HR 411. You can also Google HR 411, by the way. There's information out there on that, but we have a couple clients using this already, and it's been fantastic. They have direct access to HR professionals. They answer their questions. So when I'm saying they have direct, the client goes directly to the HR professionals. They have templates on things that are already written, like employee manuals, policies, all sorts of stuff like that that they can use. They have state mandates and stuff that is really helpful for them. So there are some states that require that they offer certain things like sick leave and such. And so that is all spelled out in the information that they have. They can reference that at any time. And then, of course, if they have questions about something that they've read, or, just need to consult on a termination for an employee, or they have some kind of a retirement package and how do we pay this employee, they can call an HR professional directly. It's fantastic. So that is $100 a month to the client. And if they're interested in that, we can also have a rep talk directly to the client about that as well. So all of these fantastic benefits can be linked by us. You can email payroll@Belay Solutions, and Marta will get you and the client hooked up directly with who they need to talk to get those things going for them. Our lovely Marta is so resourceful for all of this. So another great advantage to ADP is that you can now add the access for employees and clients. So in the past, you could not do this, but now you can add clients as well. To do that, you just go to settings. Almost everything is under settings with ADP. So you go to settings, and then to add an employee, you can go under manage employee access. From there, you can actually click send that email invitation to them again. And when you load them, you actually add their email address in on that screen. So you can go into this manage employee screen, and that's how you can resend or send for the first time the email activation code. And then if you want to give access to a client, you can do that under manage user access. So that gives them access to their employee information and the payroll. You want to make sure that this is someone that is approved to have access to all employee information, because they'll be able to see all of that. Now, on occasion, we have what's called a Fed ID combo in ADP lingo. And that just means that we have a client that maybe has two different bank accounts they want to use, or maybe they have two different EINs, but it's all one company. So sometimes I'll see this with a church where they have the church account and a preschool account. In those cases, we can set them up as a firm user. That is exactly how all of our bookkeepers are set up. So we would just give them access to only their account, but that will give them access to both of their accounts, and that's typically preferable for the client. One caveat with that is that they will get all of those emails that we all get that say, this person has opted out of sick leave, or this employee has moved. We can't stop those right now. We have asked ADP to keep trying to find a way to stop those, but I just want you to be aware the client will get those too if set up as a firm user. Regular client access that you set up, they do not get those, but if we set them up as a firm user, they will get all of those. We have to set the firm user. So if you find that your client has more than one account on the ADP dashboard, reach out to us at payrollbelaysolutions.com and we can get that added for you. Marta was just helping today with a client that was having a access struggle. So if you ever run across that on the employee or client level, let us know and we'll try to help you with that as well. So what can you expect as a bookkeeper on payroll? Now in our new version, we having a payroll implementation specialist, which if you've been around for a minute, you know we haven't always had that. We have now brought that in-house and have an on-staff person, Kimberly, that I showed you at the beginning. She's amazing, as I mentioned, and what we do is we send out a checklist and we send out a secure folder for the client to use. We ask that they start gathering all of the important information and loading that into the payroll folder. The checklist is beautiful, also as a result of Marta. And so it's user-friendly for the client, and they just go through that and they know everything that we need. They start to gather it. And then we have an onboarding call with them. The onboarding call goes over all of the documents that they've gathered, answers any questions, attempts to clear up the FICA exemption and anything like that that they might be confused about. And once that is all complete, then we will process, when I say we, I mean Kimberly, will process the first payroll, and we will invite our bookkeeper to the call. So it will be Kimberly, the client, and the bookkeeper. We'll give you complete access ahead of time so that you can review the client's file as well. And then you'll kind of be familiar with what's happening, but you don't have to do anything on that first call. You'll just kind of be observing and kind of getting familiar with the setup. So that's processed together. We kind of try to get approval on that call so that we're not having to send a register. On occasion, there might be something that comes up on that call where the client will say, well, I kind of want this changed, or something isn't correct. So we'll update that and then send them a register and process after the call. But the goal is to process together on that Zoom meeting. Once that happens, then we turn it over to our bookkeeper, and then you will take over processing all of the future payrolls. So in that short span of time after that, you might have a couple questions. And if that happens, feel free to reach out to Kimberly, because she has been in that file a lot and would be really familiar with it. Beyond that, email us at payroll@belaysolutions.com and we can answer any questions that you may have. So your ongoing support is always going to be us in the payroll inbox, as we call it. We really are always here to help. There was a time where it was really busy and it was really only just me. And now we have this beautiful team, and we are happy to answer as many questions as we possibly can. As you guys know, because you have those busy times too, we do get busy sometimes. And so our response time might get a little delayed about 2 days prior to the 15th and the 30th. And I know you guys all get that because you're processing payrolls too, but we really try to be as responsive as possible. So we will try to get back to you as quickly as we can. So my biggest best practice is to prevent W-2 challenges. It's not fun for our clients or for any of us if we get a W-2 that's not correct, because it might delay us from filing our taxes. So prevention is key. Every year in November, I always send out a survey. This survey is gold. It catches so many things. Not that it is my talent. I've just learned a couple things over the years. So I'm just trying to share things that I have seen with you so that you can talk with your client about it and hopefully catch ahead of time any issues that your client might have on W-2s. So please use that with your client. You can either send it to them, have a Zoom meeting, have a call. Just please go over everything on that survey with them. It really will be helpful, I promise. And then the next thing to do is to run that W-2 preview from ADP and send that to the client as well, because they will catch things when they look at that. That is a really good habit to get into every year. So I will say as early November as possible. I would also suggest that you ask the client to have every employee log in and view their most recent pay stub. And really, fun fact, it's a great idea for all of us to review our pay stubs if we have them all throughout the year. So have them review that pay stub, and then maybe they can also share the W-2 preview with them, just their portion, not the whole group's portion, obviously, but have them review that because they know what they should be getting paid, and then there won't be any surprises on their taxes that they have been withholding all year. The next thing to do is to confirm the W-2 address. We don't want those W-2s to go to the wrong address. So you can update that yourself under settings and then address. And one thing that I learned too is some of you might have seen that ADP will not allow us to mail W-2s to a PO box, but they do mail them to UPS boxes because they actually give you an address range. Belay actually has one of those, which is how I found out. So it will sometimes be like 100, Suite 100 to 200, and they will mail to those. So if your client has a PO box, maybe they would want to switch to a UPS box. Okay, so if you need help, which happens to all of us, and it definitely happens with payroll from time to time, we love to help you guys. I really love talking to all of you. That includes our CSCs on the call and definitely our contractors, our bookkeepers. We love hearing from you. So please feel free to reach out to us. You all probably have my direct email, but payroll@belaysolutions.com, we all can get into there. So we're able to typically be the most responsive in there. And then if I'm out, there are people filling in for me. So I know you'll always be helped. The ADP team is also always there for you. And that email address is belayservice@adp.com. They have what they call a premier team. And they also have looped in now tax experts that are dedicated to helping just us. I mentioned earlier that they're dedicated to continually improving. I meet with them twice a week, most weeks. I have a scheduled meeting every week and then another one scheduled monthly. And I'm in daily communication with them. So if ever we need to escalate anything, feel free to loop us in and we can escalate that within ADP as well. But they really are wanting to help us. And all of the people I talk to there really have a servant's heart like we do. So you can definitely reach out to them. If you need something quick, the best way to deal with ADP is to call them. And again, I know sometimes we're shy, don't want to call, and sometimes it feels like it takes longer. But if you call them, they can do things so much more quickly for you. So I would say it's best to call if you need to void a payroll, if you need to do a same day payroll, if you have an employee that hasn't received a deposit, call them. And again, with the same day payroll, don't forget that those fees apply. So we will need to bill them. And then these are their extensions. These are the people that we have been given the names that are a little bit more highly trained, and they're part of that premier team that has been dedicated to Belay to help us. So again, we are so thankful for all of you guys and everything that you do. And thank you for listening to me ramble on and bearing with my struggle to share screens today. We are going to send out a Google Doc with an opportunity for you to add in any questions that you have. I should have said that at the beginning, and I apologize that I forgot. I was thrown by sharing my screen, but we're going to send that out to all of you so you can add in some questions that you may have. And then we'll send out a frequently asked questions form summarizing all of those with all of the answers so that everyone can benefit from maybe a question that you have. So with that, maybe we will have a little bit of extra time back in our day, but I talked the majority of the time. So again, I appreciate you guys all listening to me, and I am so grateful for all of the wonderful work that you do for our clients. We could not do this without you. Payroll is such an important part of your engagement. And another fun fact that I always like to say is that if a client has payroll, they stay around a lot longer. So that is, to me, the biggest reason why you would want to have that with your clients, because we want them to stay around. It's fun to have a client for a really long time. And as you know, we have fantastic clients here at Belay. We screen them just as well as we screen all of you. So thank you for all that you do. And if you guys need anything, please reach out to us.
Yes. Thank you guys. Just to wrap it up, we so appreciate your time today. Be on the lookout for one of these next quarter as well. We've got fun things planned there. We will send out that Google form where you guys could ask any questions or share any feedback on a day. Thank you for serving with excellence. And thank you, Shane, for your time and helping educate our contractors a little bit more. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, Tuesday. I forget what day it is, but have a good one, guys. Bye.